Right.
Be the scapegoat. I swear. Depending on how it went. Do we have everybody here? All right, let's get back to business. I do apologize. It was brought to my attention that the camera has not been on. Okay, so now we are on to the food service fund, number 143.
Are you ever take from their fund balance to balance it as well?
Excuse me?
Are you ever take from their fund balance to balance it as well?
So what we do is have indirect costs that we pull from them and Head Start. Any of the federally funded, we pull some from that to go into our budget as pass through. But now Lindsay, she does a wonderful job of always, she basically makes her money for her own budget and we don't have to give her anything. She actually gives to the general 141.
She say some of those free and reduced lunches, were they going away this year?
So that's the reason her budget may look worse this year than previously, is because she's got all the acronyms. But what it is, everybody was free through COVID those 2 years, and they did not renew that, so that's gone. So now we're back to that free and reduced, which will cost us funding over time.
Motion we approve it.
Any discussion?
This is to approve the food service fund 2023 as presented. William Campbell. Daniel McIntyre.
Yes.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Julie Gwynn.
Yes.
Travis Hill. Terry Prophet.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Thomas Prophet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the next one. It's the Head Start Fund, number 145.
We got a standard percentage rate.
I do not know how she does that. Audra, did you help with, Leanne? He's asking, is there a standard percentage?
Adjustment per year.
In terms of what they receive?
Well, actually, I was looking at the federal funds for Head Start and so on, as far as the increase from 2021 to 2022, and then it jumps up to from 2022 to 23, $34,000.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the prior years, but I know this year it was only about 20,000 thereabouts. It was a very small increase in the federal funding. 24,000, which she then reallocated in her budget. So I don't know what comprises the difference in the prior years.
I'm curious. Thank you.
You know what the large increase is there for maintenance and repairs?
What page are you on about?
The last one, 44, 6,847.
Amanda, do you have any conversations with Leanne? The last page, page 4, 74,000. 76,000.
And a major project at Hampton Elementary. They took all the stuff out, redid it.
Okay, yes.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
The playground in the middle of the school.
A playground out with the mobile learning environments, our trailers out there. They had a big maintenance thing that they had to do there that was pricey, so I guess that was it too. Audra, do you remember? I'm positive last year Crane is right.
She discussed with me some playground equipment too. She and I were talking one day, and that was one of the topics that was brought up. And she did also mention that playground equipment that she's ordering right now can be moved so that if it needs to be moved to a different location, like the North Range or something, it can be easily done.
So expenses over revenues is about 28.5. Where are they making up that difference at?
They receive funding on a calendar year versus our fiscal year, so it always looks like there's an issue with that, but it's really a timing of when they can recognize money versus when we spend it.
Yeah, that makes our budget crazy. Pre-K, our type of cycle. Head Start, it's crazy.
Make a motion, we approve it.
Willie. Any discussion? No discussion?
Willie Campbell,
Yes.
Daniel McIntyre,
Yes.
Ross Garland,
Aye.
Linda Smith,
Yes.
Travis Snell,
Aye.
Gary Poppett,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Thomas Prophet.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
As always, we appreciate all you do for the schools very much.
Okay, on to educational capital projects.
You want to review, I don't know, this was requested, through Richard for the 177 fund budget in regard to presenting the budget.
I do.
I emailed.
Yeah, I've got it printed. What are let me find it.
Look at that back page.
177.
Yeah, that's new.
Yep, I've got it here.
Created budget. It was requested that we basically create a budget for
Yes.
177 that was created last year as a fund.
Yes, absolutely. Are you saying that there was
The
a,
last page in the packet that I distributed tonight too, it's just a single page.
did you say there was a particular question they wanted me to answer? Okay.
No, it's on our agenda for it to be reviewed.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so up to this point, I'm on track with you now, Audra, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
When this was passed last year by the commission to pull that money and put it into a restricted 177, there was never a budget made for it. So Richard and Audra have worked on creating a budget just for that 177 fund to make it a lot more transparent and clear for all of you to see the money that's there, where it goes. Obviously, it makes it more clear for my board to know how much is there if they continue to plan on things as well. So that's what is in your packet. And if you can see that, your eyes are better than mine, it's light blue, or mine's light blue.
Microscope here.
So let me read this right, your total capital outlay, $1,131,000. When you created the 177 account, what was the funds that came into 178? Was that merely grants?
Last year, the fund was opened, and the funds for the year 2021 were transferred from general purpose schools into the fund to create this fund from that year's half.
Local option sales tax.
Local option
sales, yes.
But they did back for Cloudland.
Right, so this current fiscal year, there was a budget to recognize $725,000 of revenue, which was done. And then we've realized certainly a lot more than that amount of revenue. So then next year, we've created the revenue forecast, which is the $1.3 million of revenue, which has been adjusted for the prior year discrepancy between the city schools and the county schools, so that's already taken into account. And then the expenditure for the capital outlay building improvements is anticipation of the Hunters Elementary School project. So that's how that budget is
So this is where,
presented and intended.
this is where you have sales tax.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Capital improvement, that's what this goes into.
It had previously gone in 141.
And it goes in directly every month.
And now, yeah, so to say now it goes directly into this and not into 141, so it's more easily tracked if it's in this. There was a prior, in order to explain to me, prior years it was in a reserve account, and then that reserve account is what went into the.
Because look at the difference between 21 and 22, and then the proposed 22 to 23. $3 million in 1 year.
I had the trustee's office pull some random time periods of that so I could look at it, and it has significantly increased over the past couple of years, especially the amounts for when it first started were very small, but it has significantly increased, especially over the last 2 years.
See this morning's venture.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
77. There's nothing comes out of 177 in third.
Ross Darling made a motion to approve it.
Second.
Discussion? Troy Campbell. Daniel McIntyre.
Yes.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Julie Quinn.
Yes.
Travis Hill. Jerry Prophet.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Thomas Profit.
Yes.
And
appreciate you coming and being here and answering questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is budget discussion, talking about the budget calendar and meeting dates.
Okay, so currently we have scheduled for full commission to have a workshop tomorrow night. We will have a summarized version of what you've seen throughout the last several months and weeks as far as what we've been presenting. At this point, tonight approves everything from this committee. So I will have that printed out, hopefully, if the copier cooperates. 24 copies of it for everyone to have for discussion tomorrow night. Department heads have asked, do they need to be there or not be there? Some said they could, some said they can't, some don't feel like they need to. This is my first go around, so I have no idea how this is supposed to work. I obviously will be there and will answer any questions that I know, but as you know, I cannot speak but so much on their behalf. So it would just be a time of looking at what's already been approved by this committee, by the commission. I guess we take you may have been there last year, you're gonna chair it tomorrow night, correct?
I'll be cheering it.
So we're gonna,
Ross is there.
I guess we will make a list of anybody's questions that we can't answer, is that correct? Is that what we do? Just make a list of questions if I can't answer them? On that, I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking because I've not done it before, so if I can't answer the question or don't know, we'll just make a list of it and I'll send an email back to the department head and then I will send it out to all the commission, I guess. That's probably the easiest way to do it. It's not a voting meeting, it's just a time for discussion to see if commission would have any questions or want to do anything different. Because of that, Josh and I were discussing, and I've discussed with Ginger, I think it best that we not publish it in the paper until we've had that meeting. That being said, there is not enough days for it to be published in the paper for it to be voted on in the June meeting, as it is scheduled currently.
Where are we at as far as the balanced budget?
After
If we cut Park and Rec down tonight, where does that put us?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next thing. So currently, according to all the scratching and trying to figure out numbers, we are currently at a positive 136 because of the reduction from Parks and Rec.
136,000.
Yes, at a positive. We were at a negative 51 before that discussion, and because Parks and Rec was reduced, then it increased by that amount. So as of right now, we're at a positive 136, unless somebody changes something else.
What was the numbers as far as raises? I mean, we need to discuss that. We've got to discuss.
Yeah, and I have that printed out again, if anybody needs that. So there were lots of different options that were kind of thrown out there. Or hand it out in case, so he's got it, he doesn't.
You handed out last night.
Raises, that was it.
I haven't changed it from,
No, my fault.
I hope you have.
You had it ready, but.
I haven't changed it from the last time. So these are the options that had been previously requested. And so that's what it's.
We don't get a raise.
I mean, this is up to you guys as far as what you do or don't do. These were the ones that people had requested me to look at, so that's what I did.
As far as you guys that are new, tonight, what we've been discussing was a flat amount as opposed to a percentage, so that the lower level pay scale would be getting more, which is where it's needed more. So that's what we were discussing. I think what were we, 1,000, 1,500 in that ballpark?
Yeah, and I will say this is a moving target in the fact that the number of employees seems to change on a weekly basis. And so this was based on in May, but I mean, now it's changed again.
We're at 280.
It's already said.
What was it?
274.
What was it on, when we were looking at the?
It was 281. Yeah, that's what. Bonuses.
How many was it? 281.
So as I said, this is, it's constantly changing.
All we do is get close.
Hmm.
But I said, all we do is get close, but it'll change at least by one even by the time it's back to the next morning.
It does, so I mean, it's a ballpark.
Well, it's only good, yeah. We can adjust that.
Yeah, we can, and what I'll do, once you make a decision on if you want to do this or what you want to do, I can go in and pull as of the next pay date and see what the count is at that point and give you the number from that count.
And I am going to say that something that the finance director did was request from each department to be frugal in your budgets so that we could possibly fund these raises. So every department did that, did they not?
They did.
So just something to think about. We asked them to do that, and they did do that in anticipation of possibly getting raises for employees. So,
Is there anything in any of the budgets we can use any of the reserve funds for? Like the mayor's budget, is there anything that we could open up some more money, it's not gonna come out of general fund? Now, last year we did, looking to do the bathroom renovation, we took it out of the capital program. Is there any kind of project like that that we can do, that we can take
I don't, not that I'm aware of.
any of the budgets?
Yeah, I mean, the department heads have worked very hard with on their budgets.
We didn't budget for any big projects just because.
You know, remember too, in the past 4 years we've been here, we've hit retirement accounts. Every account that we're down now, it's just flatline.
Yeah, I mean, we're to the point in retirement, we can't really,
To help.
unless we kill next year's commission, so I mean.
The balance in that way too, there was no tax increases in that to build it back up. And, I think the best thing is I don't know, my recommendation would be from the unassigned fund balance. We're gonna get some replenishment when we have the end of the year total comes in, from the unencumbered money from the different departments.
Could we, it'd be robbing Peter to pay Paul, but could we take it like we did the year that some of us got elected, when they moved it out of debt service and just drew down debt service to pay the debt service fund?
That's not an option this year.
No, we would, instead of taking it from general fund, because I think they passed a rule in 2017 or 18 that they can't balance the budget from general fund. But could you take more out of debt service, move the pennies out of debt service, but draw down debt service to pay the jail payment this year?
But we
Are you
can't-
talking about that resolution in regard to about the internal resolution?
We did do that, our first year as commissioners, the balance.
Well, we looked at taking pennies out of debt service, and it doesn't appear that is something that we can pull from to fund this year.
and you told us the other day that you're going to give raises possibly this year, right? Because next year we may not be able to. Is that
Yeah,
what-
I mean, when the department heads did their budgets, there is a maintenance of effort, from what I understand, from the salary lines. We can't reduce those. There was fluff, for lack of a better way to put it. There was extra in several departments. That is now, for the most part, gone, because I had been requested to run actual based on individuals. So in previous years where it may have been done generally, I mean, we've literally done it by the number of employees that they currently have. And so if their maintenance of effort from the prior year's budget was more, and there were, I think, a couple of departments that it was just slightly more, it was left at that number. Otherwise, it was put in there as exactly what they have right now. There's no extra in there.
I mean, it's not good practice to fund raises from general fund, but we've got to do something this year. I mean,
We've squeezed out every dollar of revenue. I've asked them, because it's their budgets, I can't control what they do or don't do, but I asked them to please be conscious and be good stewards of what they have and only put in what they needed. And I would say the majority of the department heads have done that. There's a couple that I can't necessarily speak for one way or the other, but the majority of them have made a huge effort to do that.
But I think everybody concerned can understand because of the era we are in and the economy we're in, because the biggest majority, if you look through the package of all the input and figures on fuels, foods, everything just like that, it wasn't in any off-the-wall place. It was penny for penny. And some of it, but they may have to come back and ask even for more increase depending on what our economy does. But they cut as far as they could.
How much are we to the good right now?
For some reason, I can't hear tonight.
You said 136. I was just wondering how much we were to the good right now, 136.
That still puts us 80,000 from the lowest number. Maybe getting 750.
We were initially, what, we were looking 1,000, 1,500, trying to hit one of those numbers. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I mean, our initial was, 1,500, the 2,000. And so what I did is I went in and I took multiple options to give everybody the opportunity to look and see what it would cost to do a little bit, do more. Now, there was a discussion several weeks ago about the fact that this shouldn't play into it, but this bottom number, the reason that's on there, this is a year which happens about every 7 years, I think, 5 years, where we will have 27 pay periods instead of 26 because we are bi-weekly and not bi-monthly. And so the question had been asked by one of the commissioners on this committee, how much money would that be? Because people will see a reduction in their actual take-home pay because they will get an extra paycheck than they normally get. And so that bottom option is what that would, a guesstimate of currently when I did this analysis, what that number is. So that was just something that was requested, so I did put that at the bottom. I don't recommend doing that anymore. I don't want it to sound like I'm recommending we do that as an option because that would be almost impossible to administer because you'd have to go in and look at every single individual. But you can see that that's pretty close to the top one, which was $750 for full-time and $375 for part-time.
How can you get 27 paychecks? Why wouldn't you accrue those back to accrue them back?
Well, like I said, this only happens every so many years. So we have 3 pay periods in July. We have 3 in December. We also will have 3 in June of next fiscal year. This very rarely happens. I've only seen it happen one other time.
But the first payroll in July would be for days worked in June, though, correct?
Well, but you have to divide whatever the current salary is. So if somebody's got $30,000 as their salary, instead of it being divided between 26 pay periods, it's divided by 27. If we were bi-monthly, that would never happen, but because we are bi-weekly, that happens every
I've been bi-weekly for 20 years at the city, and I've never had 27 paychecks.
This is the second time I've seen it happen. It's been with 2 different organizations, but I went in and counted just because I could remember from the other organization it happened. It took everybody, including the payroll company, by surprise. I happened to catch it. That particular organization decided to fund it. It was in a different circumstance, so they just funded that extra payroll instead of change it because it wasn't caught till the end of the fiscal year when I caught it and said, hey, what's going on here? So I went in and counted just to make sure it wasn't going to happen, and it is going to happen in the next fiscal year. And I had Jacqueline also count behind me just to confirm and make sure since.
If you take out the outliers on salaries, what would you say the average salary is a year?
When I did the analysis before, the majority, I'd say 75% of the county employees were under $35,000.
30,000, if the average was 30,000, a $1,500 pay increase would be 5%. Most counties and cities are doing 5%, I've seen. I think we've got to stay competitive with those.
You figure it on that flat rate of 1,500, they're taking like,
If they had 35,000, you'd have 1,750.
extra, so about $100 a pay period.
Yeah, one of the reasons that the flat amount was discussed as opposed to a percentage is one of the things that this commission has brought forward is that we're looking at raising the pay for the lower end employees. By doing a flat amount, those employees get more. So if you've got somebody that's making $12 an hour, they're gonna get a whole lot more for a flat amount than they would get 2% or 4%, because you're still favoring your higher end employees. And so this kind of brings them up a little bit. I did have a conversation with a friend of mine who is in Virginia that is in the payroll HR realm, and Virginia is looking at potentially raising their minimum wage. Now, I've not heard any rumblings of that from Tennessee, but I do know Virginia is considering that at this point. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind as we look at this, is at some point that may happen, and if it does, then we won't have a choice. And it's something that it's easier if you do it gradually. Now, I've heard no rumblings of that at this point, but I've also not been following up on that probably as closely as I should.
I have all employees' pay here in one time when we were dealing with correctional side of the house with their pay. The median was 34,341. That's without benefits.
So you really need to get to, if you want to average it at 5% based on a flat rate, you need to get about $1,750 for a full-time person. If the average is 35,000 a year.
That's,
Now, the question I have, let's talk about the unassigned fund balance. I understand that there was a resolution passed. Did it say not, or did it say it recommends not to use the unassigned fund balance? Because when that resolution went through, we were in a crisis in this nation, country, world that we're in now.
that was what was brought up, that the auditors were saying that we needed to change it.
Rewrite it.
They want us to rewrite it. Basically, they're saying that we
It's
need
just
to
recommended.
they're recommending that we rewrite it, because last year there was I think it was 24,000 that was taken out of fund balance, because I asked a lot of questions as they were going through the audit and so forth, and she said, oh, we didn't catch that, that should have been a write-up,
So it's
because
a play on
the,
it is.
the resolution that you all passed basically states that you can't take it out of fund balance, that you have to balance it without that. Which that was I didn't know, so I just asked the question.
What do y'all think as far as the total goes?
I think we should at least shoot for 1,500.
Can we make that work?
I mean, we'd have to,
I mean, it comes out of, it comes out of fund
If
balance.
you go to the column to the right-hand side, that's what we would have to have. We've got 130,
So we've got
136 off of
136.
that.
see, whichever.
Of course, like I said, this number will change.
go with 285,000.
I would be.
I should say,
If
so
you
we
look at it-
285 comes out of fund balance.
I
Now-
had been looking at the 2,000 in the middle of the page, but for that equaling out to percentages, came out to almost 5%.
If you made $40,000, that'd be 5%. So if you're under that, then you're getting 6-7%. And you're above 40,000, you're getting a little bit less than 5%. So
Yeah, that was the whole goal, to get it at that lower level.
That's where our herd is at the bottom.
Now, how
That
would
was,
be,
what, $74 a week?
yeah, these lower ones like the 750 and the $1,000 are by the time taxes and so forth are taken out, it's very minimal as to what the employee would see.
425 would get 2,000.
Is there a motion on the floor?
There is not. Would somebody like to make a motion for one of those numbers?
I would like to make a motion that we grant a flat amount of 2,000 full-time, 1,000 part-time. Chart right now, of course, that's under 270 employees, and then we got 280. That'd be just a very, very fraction, but that's equivalent to 3,000 $693 according to it's printed. And that become from the, let's see, no, we have, what was that number we had?
131 in surplus, so it'd be
131.
285 difference that would come out of fund balance.
So that'd be on 1,500 though.
Hmm.
You need 425 if you're gonna do 2,000.
If you take off that 136.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I was looking at 1,500.
425, 431, Brad, to do 2,000.
Sorry, I was looking at the 1,500.
1,500, you need 285, Brad.
285, okay. So that become from the unassigned fund balance.
You wanna do 2,000?
Yeah.
So that'd be
I mean,
425,
that's what I put in my motion. It may not fly, but looking at the percentage of what a regular would be, and then faced with the economy we have, and then the people in the lower income bracket being hurt the most on the more expense, and that's generally where your children's at too. So,
We put qualifying language in there, put C2. You add 2 words to it, and it's.
But we can do that next motion. We have one motion, right?
Brad, actually, you would need, Carolyn, you need 345, 826 out of general fund, 79, 555 out of highway.
345.
Yeah. that's correct.
826.
Yeah, there's highways in here too.
And 79, 555 out of highway.
All right, so your motion is for 2,000,
Yes,
flat
ma'am.
rate?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else?
Second that.
Mr. Prophet, Thomas Prophet, seconds that. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got in here.
2,000 for full-time, 1,000 for part-time for flat raise.
That's right here. 2,000, 1,000. A little bit, 136, what'd we say, 445, 485, what was it?
Fund balance.
Madam Chair. Yes, ma'am.
Why is money coming out of highway? Their employees are in here too. So they would get, theirs would be funded out of their fund balance, and the counties would be funded out of the county's fund balance.
Anybody else?
They have plenty to fund from.
All right. Sandra?
Okay. Willie Campbell,
That's abstain.
Daniel McIntyre,
Yes.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Julie Gwynn. Yes. Travis Hill,
Aye.
Jerry Prophet,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Thomas Prophet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion approved. Okay. Do we have anything else for discussion? Since we got the MOE out of the way early.
Yeah, I started, so that was the other item on here. Okay, so for tomorrow evening, I can go in and put in the changes for Parks and Rec. That's the only thing that will change out of what we currently did, other than this. If we put this in, there's no way we can put it all in and have that document for tomorrow night. So I would like to recommend that we fix Parks and Rec and present that for discussion, but have a note that this would be added to it, because we literally have to go in department by department and find full-time and part-time. It just, there's not enough time to get it done and get it printed because of the size of the document by tomorrow.
So since that's a financial policy, can we override that this next month, Josh, or do they need to take it back to financial management and revamp it?
That was my whole point to start with. I mean, I don't know why the auditor's so concerned. It's just a resolution of the county commission, and 2/3 vote can override it anytime. So, I mean, I don't know why they're so hot about that.
But that's because that came out of the audit, right at the auditors now. Of course, I went through several audits, federal wise and all that. I know all of them are different from each other. When I look at the finding, I look at the results of the finding, trying to get a fix or a grade or a middle line as to what their thoughts are. And then I kept saying, well, this commissioner never went to school. And I thought, oh, what are you looking at? And then they came in and in the language, But it, you know, like, we'd have to rewrite the language on it. It's a legal language, it's a play on words, and they didn't find anything wrong with it. They just.
I guess I got one more question. Since Roger, we already approved his budget, and this will be changing his budget. Can you check to make sure that's all right with him?
He said do whatever. He is more than in favor of,
Sure, that would be.
yeah, employee raises. We've already had that discussion.
We ought to take his and gun dick it to death. Until we'll fax it to you just for the heck to see him
Now,
strong.
and now he might have a discussion about that one if you fund all of them. He's-
I'm sorry, that's the best we can do. Let's see that face slide up.
Okay, are all minds clear?
Okay, and so we're good about what we're gonna do tomorrow night and print the doc, I think it's 100 and some pages, so. I'll make that one change and then we can kind of blow it through.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much.
Let us.
Great.